about World War I or World War II.
Like everybody I know, I thought slavery was disgusting, and I'm very, very glad that everyone came round to their senses it was disgusting and that Britain actually led the way in ending the damn thing. Of course I do. Slavery was disgusting. However, it turns out the historians say Manchester didn't adopt ships as an emblem until 1842.
Apparently
35 years after the abolition of slavery.
Yes.
So they would have had nothing to do with it.
And I'm on your side. But when I see a football team changes names to Commanders, you know, I'm like, you know, what is that?
Are you insulted? Do you feel insulted? Do you feel insulted?
Well, Commander is surely.
No, I don't feel insulted.
Do you feel shaken up?
Surely here's the point.
No,
Hotep, isn't the word commander itself? It doesn't that suggest, you know, white supremacy because most commanders around that time were white.
And you're named.
You change it to something that also is racist. There is no word you can use. Because I know what you're about to say is going to make me infuriated and it's going to be utterly insufferable.
Excellent.
These are two crests that carry images of sailboats.
Yes.
It's got nothing to do with slavery or racism.
If that's your opinion, then you're entitled to have it.
It's a fact.
Well, you don't know that, Piers, and the historians are being asked to look into that. And that's what should properly happen, shouldn't it? Because when you tell us about history and how important history is, what we want to do is to ensure that we have got this right and we are going to grow from this experience.
Yeah, I'm not growing from it.
We're not going to deny it.
I am growing from this experience. I'm growing very annoyed.
And
I'll tell you why.
Why are we annoyed?
Let me tell you why.
Why are we weary when we talk about slavery?
No, I'm not worried about that. I thought slavery.
Tired when we talk about World War I or World War II.
Like everybody I know, I thought slavery was disgusting, and I'm very, very glad that everyone came round to their senses it was disgusting and that Britain actually led the way in ending the damn thing. Of course I do. Slavery was disgusting. However, it turns out the historians say Manchester didn't adopt ships as an emblem until 1842.
Apparently
35 years after the abolition of slavery.
Yes.
So they would have had nothing to do with it.
And how do we know that? We don't know that. So what you are doing is you are taking one understanding of a situation.
So you're believing the historians that suit your narrative?
It's not what I believe, Piers. Let's be clear about this. We're having a debate. And that's what is important about
this. It's not, Paula.
It's to be able to have a debate about something that happened in history.
We shouldn't be looking at little pictures of ships on a footballer's crest badge. Who cares? Well, it's got nothing to do with it.
Well, clearly, I'm sure the players at Manchester City and Manchester United, those who advocate, show racism, the red card.
No, here's what's going to happen.
They will care about it.
Here's what's going to happen. The Guardian, which has just been caught with its racism trousers down, right, because it turned out they were founded by a bunch of slave owners, right? So they're the last people on earth to be lecturing about this.
Is that right? Aren't they the right people?
No,
actually?
they're not. They're not. Because I found their hand wringing over that utterly ridiculous. I'll tell you why.
Well, they've apologised.
Every single family in Britain, if you go back far enough, you'll have people in their past, hundreds of years ago, who employed slaves, almost certainly.
And therefore?
And therefore, we know that was wrong then. Why should everybody today who had nothing to do with it think it was all terrible spend their entire time apologising for it?
It's about education,
yes.
First of all, just education. And the second thing it's about, and you know this, we always rewrite history. We rewrote World War II. Because we found out about Bletchley. A person who grew up in the 50s would have a different World War II than a kid now because we found out about Bletchley. So we are getting more intelligent. And that's one thing that's happening. And
Bonnie, you can't be serious.
Hang on. And the other thing, the United Kingdom was actually on the side of the Confederacy during the Civil War, and in fact was going to send a ship to the Confederacy to fight for it when it was stopped and warned by Lincoln and paid an indemnity to the United States.
Who is going to pay me and my family reparations for what the Vikings did to us?
Well, I think you should seek it out.
Who's going to?
Explore
Who's
it.
going to seek it out?
Explore
So
it.
literally,
Educate us.
so we go back over
Educate
every
it.
invasion,
Okay.
every
And this
bad
is what
thing.
and this
Hang
is
on,
what
let
upsets
me finish.
It is the
Let's try and have a
ideology of
conversation.
denial.
No,
It's
it's
the
not.
ideology of
It's not, I'm
denial.
not denying anything happened.
So then let's deal
No,
with it.
what I'm
Let's
saying is,
address it.
once you start this woke rampage, there is no end. A bit like the statues of historical figures.
we
They're
don't-
all. Guess
but-
what? Hang on, let me finish. Ladies, give me a moment. All historical figures are flawed. You can find flaws in Mandela, in Gandhi, and Churchill. It's why they had to be boarded up, their statues at Parliament Square, so the mob didn't attack them.
Yes.
But if we take this route, everything, all the time, we have to be apologising, paying for.
But
Why? How does that move us on?
What's wrong with an apology? Nothing is wrong with that. If you,
I'm very sorry that hundreds of years ago people behaved
It's
badly.
not anything to do with hundreds of years. We acknowledge it. We always do that. That is what history
Why
does.
should footballers have to remove crests
It's not-
that contain
it's not
images of ships, which, according to many historians, were adopted as an emblem 35 years after slavery was abolished?
Well, it was abolished, but it wasn't over. Okay, and that's
So
the
all
point.
are all ships
Well,
racist?
no, we don't know that, but we need to
Are
investigate
all ships
it.
racist?
We need to investigate it. Why not? What's
all
wrong
ships,
with that?
all ships could be
No,
racist.
why are you going to make a
You're being
generalization about it?
You see
how
Why you
ridiculous
got-
this
no,
sounds?
that's
Disingenuous
that's
now,
a
and
ridiculous
I think
point,
he
and you
knows
are.
that.
All right.
You are.
I think he
You
knows
So
are.
you think
and
we
I
should-
think
you
the
think-
Irish
you
should
think
talk to the
all-
Norwegians.
No,
It's a
I
good
think-
idea.
honestly,
I
I've
think
got-
the Irish should talk
And also
to
the
Why
Italians
not?
and the Romans.
Why
Wow.
not? Why
Wow.
not? Why not?
I think you're
What's
Why
going to
not?
happen about the
Why
Romans?
not? Why not? Why not?
I need reparations for what Rome did
I
to
think
us.
the Irish should talk to the Icelanders.
Oh, it's
because it was a
preposterous,
slave.
Bonnie.
No, it's not preposterous. It's good
No,
dialogue.
you know what it is? Here's what it is. It's exhausting.
Well, that's different.
Honestly,
well,
You know
if it's
what, Piers?
this
exhausting,
woke
it's different.
mentality
It's
is so
different.
exhausting.
Piers,
I feel myself
I'm
literally
so
getting
sorry.
tired as I
You
listen
shouldn't
to
feel
this.
exhausted.
It's-
Try being a
it's-
black
no, you
female.
shouldn't- you
That's
shouldn't-
I
exhausting.
am
Hang on.
sure being a
That's
black
exhausting.
female
Wait a minute,
can be
We are
wonderful.
talking.
I can have its
We are-
challenges.
We don't need to have this
Yeah,
kind of
trust me,
argument.
walking
If you're-
around
if
being
you're
me ain't no
talking
bed of
about-
roses
If you're
either.
talking about being exhausted, it's the exhaustion of the pursuit
All right.
of knowledge.
Let me bring
Nothing
in.
wrong
Let
with
me
that.
bring in
Here.
our very patient third guest from across the pond, Hotep Jesus. Hotep, you've been listening to this. I'm under attack here.
Nah, no.
All right. Hotep, my general point is this. I think
So-
slavery was horrific. I think if you basically chart back from almost any family in Britain and America, you'll find some evidence somewhere that someone in the family probably was employed in using slavery when it was going on. But I just don't understand the point of this constant series now of recriminations, reparations, apologies, guilt trips, and so on. I don't know what point it serves.
I worked at a tech company once, and we know how rife they are with leftism. And in casual conversation in the office, I said, I want to be a national master in chess one day. And this white girl said to me, she said, don't you feel offended that they use the term master in the title? And I just looked at her like, that thought never crossed my mind. The same thing if I were to go to the harbor and I would see a ship, I would not think of slavery.
Right.
There's a huge fascination with slavery amongst Black people where our educational system, our upbringing has tied us to this travesty in human history and made us want to identify with it instead of identifying with richer parts of our history. Now, here's the issue that this comes down to. Women are going to see the world, frankly, different from men. Women are very emotional. So, of course, they're going to be worried about, what's on the badge and all this stuff. When we look at the UK, right? The UK has about 4 million starving children.
What is this?
Right now. And that doubled since the past 2 years.
My brother, hotel.
Do you think that children that are hungry care about some badges? They can't eat football badges.
Brother, hotel.
You know, what leftism does is they try to sidestep the real dilemmas and worry about all of these frills on the outside, on the
Well,
exterior.
you know what, Hotep? Let me
not getting
just,
to the root of the
Hotep,
problem.
apart from saying that you've made two really good friends here with your women get too emotional.
One from the south side of Chicago. Really impressed, brother.
And I'll let you three deal with that after the show. But
Really impressed.
I've got two things to say to what you just said. One is there was a genuine debate in Australia several years ago because an academic went on the airwaves and claimed that chess, which you just talked about, was racist because the white pieces went first, right? And I remember thinking at the time, the only time anyone in the world would think that that was the case was if some academic decided to pop his head up and go, it's racist. Nobody actually believes chess is racist for that reason. And secondly, on your second point about current things, I read today that there are between 7 and 8 million slaves in India alone at the moment. Now,
Correct.
Now, if the Guardian newspaper wants to launch a campaign against slavery in India, I'm all in. I'm all in for any current slavery going on anywhere in the world. I will join that campaign. But going back several hundred years to a spurious argument, which turns out may not even be historically correct, about badges on football players where they show ships, therefore all ships are racist and therefore they must be removed, to me is preposterous.
Well, they did the same thing here in America. They wanted to remove Aunt Jemima from product packaging. They want to tear down statues. They're tearing down Lee, Robert E. Lee, I believe his name was, famous general.
Wants that to happen, brother.
A whole bunch of people are involved in what Jay-Z has a quote. It goes, moral victories are for minor league coaches. When you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of things, you look at more important issues than just badges on a football uniform. I just don't get it.
Do you know something? You just used the phrase nitty-gritty. That itself has been banned now.
No.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yes, it has.
No, it hasn't.
No,
banned it?
I have
Banned
seen
it.
people say
Well,
that is a
banned it.
racist term.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, and and historians
Listen,
have told them that they're wrong.
Right,
here,
so
I'm
you accept
sitting
that
here-
these historians who pop their head up saying all this stuff can be
Because it's been
completely
researched.
wrong.
And
First of
it's
all, I want to
debated.
get your collective reaction to the suggestion that this is really a female thing.
That's-
That you women are a little over-emotional
That
about
is,
badges.
I've never heard
Yeah.
a man say that for a long time.
Right.
So that's
I think that's
an hour.
Well, in the interest of fair play, what is your response to
And I would have
Hotel?
liked to ask him what he thought about the American football clubs who have changed their names because they referenced various members of society who didn't think that it was appropriate that they should be called those names. We have rugby clubs who have changed their names because they didn't think that it was an appropriate.
But we're not
thing to
talking
call
about
them.
we're
So
not
when we
talking about
look at-
potentially inappropriate or inflammatory names
So-
which have evolved over years. We're talking about
But it also went with the
images
emblem.
of boats.
Or it also went with the
They're
emblem.
boats.
Well, I know what they are, but it's what they
can I
represent.
just say-
Piers.
Yeah, Hotep, come in.
Yeah, please, Hotel.
Yeah, because she wanted to know my opinion on, I
It's
believe
Paula.
it's
It's
the
Paula,
Washington
by the way.
Commanders
No.
now.
We have names, brother.
I'm sorry.
We have names,
say that again.
brother.
Who's the sister that
My name is
addressed me
Bonnie.
about the
Sister
football?
now.
Paula.
We're sisters
Now we're
now.
sisters. That's so nice. Thank you. Proceed.
Sister Paula?
Proceed.
It's Bonnie.
Okay.
It's Bonnie and Paula.
From the
okay.
south side of Chicago.
Love y'all. Great
Okay,
energy.
brother, keep
and I'm
going.
on your side. But when I see a
side is
football
that?
team
What side
change
is
its
that?
names
Yeah.
to Commanders, I'm like, what is that?
Are you insulted?
It's a
Do you feel
joke to me.
insulted? Do you feel insulted?
Well, Commander is
No,
surely.
no, I don't
surely
feel
Commander is
insulted. I'm
also.
just-
do you feel shaken
But
up?
surely here's the
No,
point.
no,
Hotep,
it just it's
Hotep, isn't the word commander itself? It doesn't that suggest white supremacy because most commanders around that time were white.
And you're
so
named
you change it to something that also is racist. There is no word you can use.